What started out as a night of socializing and drinking turned into a woman's untimely death. Hello, my miracles, and welcome to Coffee and Crime. So grab your coffee and let's talk some crime. New York City, in Manhattan's Upper East Side, there sits a restaurant and bar called Dorian's Red Hand, catering to the rich young people of New York. And on August 25th, 1986, 19-year-old Robert Chambers was there enjoying the night with a woman he had been casually dating when 18-year-old Jennifer Levin walked in. Their eyes met in a friendly hello, which made the woman Robert was with upset. She would leave the bar in anger, while Robert would stay, and eventually he would leave with Jennifer around 4 in the morning. And only a short time later, at 6:20 a.m., Jennifer's body would be discovered in Central Park by a passing bicyclist. She was lying face up, her eyes still open, and her body partially clad next to a large elm tree. Police arrived on the scene, and soon it became more populated, with onlookers wondering what had happened. And in that crowd was Robert Chambers, sitting casually on a stone fence, watching with others who had gathered. Soon police began telling everyone to leave, and Robert would walk home, get undressed, and go to sleep. Shortly after Jennifer was found, the police went to Robert Chambers for help. At first, they wanted to ask him if he knew how Jennifer got separated from her friends that night at Dorian's. But upon seeing him, Robert had visual evidence of some kind of struggle. Both sides of his face had deep scratches. He claimed his cat had scratched him, but it was quickly revealed that those scratches were made by Jennifer. She was trying to fight off Robert's attack, and she left evidence behind not only on his face, but on his chest, and she had made bite marks on some of his fingers. Police brought Robert in for questioning, and he soon admitted to killing her, but it was an accident. The story he told started out by blaming Jennifer. She had tried to take advantage of him. With his hands behind his back, she was hurting him. With one hand, Robert swung at her, grabbing her and throwing Jennifer. He said she landed beside the tree where she was later found that same morning. But all of that was a lie, and Robert Chambers was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. During the trial, the medical examiner testified that there was evidence on Jennifer's neck that resulted in strangulation, and it was a repeated strangulation. Robert choked Jennifer, then released his grip, then choked her again and again and again until Jennifer was dead, a fact Robert firmly denies. In a time where murderers were given nicknames, Robert was known as the Preppy Murderer. His model good looks and snobbish attitude were all over the pages of magazines and plastered on every newspaper. But behind those steel blue eyes, Robert wasn't rich or famous. He was addicted to drugs. He was a thief, and he was an arrogant 19-year-old. Raised by a father who was a credit manager and a mother who was a private duty nurse, Robert's mother was determined to provide a life for Robert she never had. Education was very important to his parents, and Robert would be enrolled in private schools where he would eventually get kicked out of. He would spend his days doing drugs, stealing from his friends and family, and getting away with it. His good looks made him alluring to women, but he would never have any serious relationships with them. Jennifer Levin, on the other hand, was the complete opposite of Robert. She was bright, ambitious, and kept good grades at a private school. She was well-liked and strong-willed, but something about Robert drew her in when they first met at a party. She wanted a relationship with him, but they only dated a few times. During the trial, Robert's attorney tried to damage Jennifer's reputation, and her mother said in an interview that it felt like she was burying her daughter over and over again every time she opened the newspaper. With 3 months of testifying and 9 days of jury deliberation, they were unable to reach a verdict, so a deal was made. Robert was to plead guilty to first-degree manslaughter. It was a step down from the charge of murder, but as part of the agreement, he had to admit in open court that he intended to hurt Jennifer Levin when he killed her. Robert admitted guilt, but he stated that it was an accident, not an intentional murder. In 2003, after 15 years in prison, Robert was released with $44.33 to his name. He was 36 years old. Giving only one interview to 48 Hours in 2003, Robert Chambers says he never intended to go out that night, let alone hurt someone or kill somebody, and he never wanted to kill Jennifer, his friend. Robert talks about that night to 48 Hours. After leaving Dorian's, Jennifer and Robert made their way towards Central Park. That's when Robert claims he told Jennifer he wasn't interested in a serious relationship with her. This, according to him, made her upset, and that is when she scratched his face. And instead of parting ways, they continued walking into Central Park. In the park, Robert and Jennifer started to fool around. When Jennifer grabbed Robert's private area and squeezed, he sat up, swung his arm, and hit her in the throat, making her fall to one side. Jennifer never spoke again. Jennifer never moved. Robert apologized for his life and for taking Jennifer's life. He said in that same interview with 48 Hours that he wasn't a monster. If he was a monster, he wouldn't care. But if he was so sorry for murdering Jennifer, he could have spent those 15 years being productive, staying out of trouble and turning his life around. Instead, he had 27 disciplinary actions against him, from drug possession, assault, and weapons possession. Robert Chambers never learned a thing in prison. Well, he did take a few college courses and made the dean's list, but Robert claims that he did beat one habit that he couldn't beat outside of prison: his drug use. Well, maybe not. In 2004, the year after the 48 Hours interview, Robert was arrested for possession of drugs and driving with a suspended license. He pled guilty and spent only 100 days in jail. And 3 years later, along with his live-in girlfriend, they were both arrested and charged with selling drugs out of their apartment. He pled guilty in exchange for a sentence of 19 years. The disgusting part of that is that Robert spent more years in prison for drugs than killing Jennifer. While researching, I found it interesting that Robert told two different stories the night of Jennifer's murder. While being interrogated, he said that Jennifer took her panties and tied his hands behind his back and began taking advantage of him. He then freed his hand and reached up to strike Jennifer in the throat to throw her off of him. But in the 48-hour interview, Robert claims that he and Jennifer were fooling around. She grabbed his private area and squeezed. In anger, he swung his arm toward her throat and hit her, and she fell off of him. He also states that Jennifer scratched him in the face, but yet they still walked to the park to fool around. But the scratches on his face were not consistent with what he told 48 Hours. Those scratches were from Jennifer desperately trying to fight for her life. A video was recorded after Robert was released on bail, where he was at a party with multiple women, dancing around, flirting, and under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or both. In one scene, he was sitting on the floor, holding a doll. He was twisting the doll's head, and afterward looked at the doll and said, "Oops, I think I killed her." Looks don't make the man, and Robert isn't a man. He's a monster. He's a monster that took advantage of Jennifer Levin's feelings for him. He wanted nothing more that night than a casual sexual encounter. But Jennifer wasn't willing to be another notch on his bedpost. So Robert tried to force her, and when she resisted and fought, Robert put his hands around Jennifer's neck and took her life. Join me next Saturday as I delve into the darker part of society with another episode of Coffee and Crime. I'll see you next time.